Okay, welcome back, you guys, to the Crossroads of Thought podcast. My name is Frank,
And my name is Ariel.
and for this week's episode, it is going to be about AI and education. Ariel is going to go ahead and talk about some of the subtopics.
So for this episode, like Frank said, it's going to be AI in education. So for the first subtopic, how is AI reshaping the classroom? What are your fears and hopes for education in this new era of AI? Then going on to the next subtopic. So what we're going to go ahead and do is provide a bit of a background information. It's a bit local to our area. There's a TUSD policy, so Tucson Unified School District policy, that's going to be voted on pretty soon, and it's in relation to how to handle AI in the school environment. So we're going to go ahead and give sort of a brief background on that and sort of what it's going to include. And then we're going to be answering questions or a specific question saying, should there be an age limit for using AI tools in public education? And this is one of the more specific questions that sort of made the voting come to a pause. But we'll go ahead and get into it later on. And then for our third subtopic, we're going to go ahead and keep it light this week. And we're going to go ahead and have a dogs versus cats debate. So which one is the superior pet? So we'll go ahead and have that in store for you guys today.
All right. And then, like always, we do have our discretionary notice. So it's as follows. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guests and do not reflect the views, policies, or positions of any organization, company, or employer we may be affiliated with. The content is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional or legal advice. Listener discretion is advised.
So for the first topic, how is AI reshaping the classroom? What are your fears and hopes for education in this new era? When I was doing my research, I was looking for what examples or what tools there are currently being used. And one of the tools that I went ahead and found about was CanMigo, which is a tool being developed by OpenAI, and they're working with Sal Khan, the creator of Khan Academy. So the tool is meant to help both teachers and students. The idea that it reduces the teacher's workload. So if they have 28 students, their progress reports will go ahead and be made by the teacher, but at the same time, the AI chatbot or CanMigo in this situation would go ahead and be able to help prepare lesson plans and give immediate feedback to the students, sort of creating not as much work for the teacher having to look over every student's shoulders during that time. So there was that tool that I went ahead and found out about. One of the advantages that AI went ahead and brings to the table from what I was reading as well is sort of that it creates a tailored experience for the students. And so it sort of breaks things down in a way that people might have, how the student might not be understanding it immediately. The AI chatbot can go ahead and modify the content in order to better help the student break it. So if the content is at a 9th grade reading level, it could be modified to be at a 6th grade reading level, or then modified even further to go ahead and just say, like, give me the bullet points. So sort of tailoring education towards the student was one of the advantages. Thing is, I think there's also a fear that comes with AI, and that would be facilitating, like, it helping out to facilitate cheating and plagiarism. So I do think guardrails should be put in place to not make it easy for students to teach or to cheat. One potential way to protect students from themselves is by creating curriculum that isn't susceptible to students using AI as an advantage. One of the things that I was thinking of when doing research is like, what is the goal of school? And there was this, I believe, Uniseco went ahead and sort of created these two focuses, um, or they went ahead and did a polling of some of the Fortune 500 companies, and they're like, what are they looking for? And the two things that they mentioned that were focus were to improve critical and creative thinking skills. And so creating an environment in school where that helps a student, um, depending on how AI is used, is going to help or hurt that. And so there's a lot of, at least there are ways for AI to go ahead and improve the students' chances of improving those skills. But just like anything else, it can be used to go ahead and hurt the students' chances of learning.
Okay, I'll go ahead and repeat the subtopic in question. So, AI in education, pros and cons of AI in education. How is AI reshaping the classroom? What are your fears and hopes for education in this new era of AI? So, I kind of wanted to do some background as far as what's the current state of AI in public education, how that's being utilized across the country. So currently, AI tools are in use by several school districts, teachers, students. As of January 2025, 25 U.S. states have issued official guidance or policies regarding the use of artificial intelligence in K through 12 public education. So, for example, several districts in California have adopted Magischool AI, which is a platform tailored for educators to assist in tasks such as lesson planning and resource creation. Similarly, also in the Seattle public system, they are also using AI tools which are available for students and staff. They also use Magischool AI. In addition, they also use a tool called Canva, which is an online design and visual communication platform. Uh, Furthermore, I began to look at. I wanted to find out like any statistics or studies, if there's any correlation towards the use of AI. So I was able to find this one particular study. So according to a 2024 study published through Cornell University, it's titled "Analyzing the Impact of AI Tools on Student Study Habits and Academic Performance." The findings revealed that students utilizing AI tools experienced a significant reduction in study hours alongside an increase in GPA, suggesting positive academic outcomes. A substantial majority, 82%, so this is combining both improvement categories, reported some level of academic improvement. Nearly half, which is 40%, of all students experienced significant improvement. So I wanted to get some numbers, if there were any, data-wise, that I could maybe look into. So that's kind of what, from my very just initial search, that I was able to find. Now, for the secondary aspect of the topic, so the fears and hopes. So, what are my hopes? So, I guess very simply, I guess my hopes are that we continue to explore the free ability for students to use AI, unleashing a wave of innovation. Um, just as simple as that may sound. On the fears aspect, I guess one of them could be the potential over reliance on AI tools. So, for example, students leaning too heavily on the AI to do a portion of I guess things in life. For example, kind of using it as a crutch instead of a tool. Um, like especially the critical thinking and creativity could potentially suffer. While I was kind of doing some research on that particular on kind of like the fears aspect, I was able to actually find a study by Michael Gerlich for the Center for Strategic Corporate Foresight and Sustainability. So within the study, he mentioned so AI tool use and critical thinking. There is a strong negative correlation indicating that increased use of AI tools is associated with lower critical thinking skills. And furthermore, AI tool use and cognitive offloading, there's a strong positive correlation suggests that higher AI usage leads to greater cognitive offloading. I thought that was kind of interesting, so I kind of wanted to share that. Another potential fear is for certain AI systems that could potentially lead to privacy violations. That's kind of one of the things that maybe that could potentially be a fear. Specifically, if you're monitoring for like behavior or for certain, for examples, like certain keywords, maybe a student is searching something very specific, and then that could potentially flag them because the school might deem certain words to be inappropriate according to them, and thus they can potentially remove kind of maybe those words from even popping up in their and I guess in this learning model. So it's kind of you're removing those parts. But in although I have more positives overall for the use of AI in the public education system. But with that, I will go ahead and end my part.
So we went ahead and gave our perspective, our side of the research that we went ahead and did. So we're going to go ahead and continue from there. I wanted to ask you, Frank, that 83% you were mentioning earlier, what was that in relation to again?
So that was in relation to like the study through Cornell University, which is titled "Analyzing the Impact of AI Tools on Student Habits and Academic Performance." So, for example, one of the findings that they were able to find is a substantial majority, so 83%, when they combine both improvement categories, one being substantial and some being like some improvement. When they combine both those stats, it's 83%. So, thus, they're saying that they report some level of academic improvement. Um, and then the other, it's sad being there's 48% that basically they self-identified as having significant improvement.
48, and what was the some improvement? 83?
Yeah, 83% when you combine.
83% when you combine.
Some level of academic improvement, and that's basically a reduction in study hours, alongside an increase in GPA.
Yeah.
So, yeah, which is kind of like, I that's high numbers. You know, I think overall, even the 48% too, who basically are, it's they're saying they experience significant improvement. Like I think that's very encouraging. I will say also in that study, I thought it's nice also because I didn't add it to kind of like these talking points, but they do also go over like kind of like the potential like obstacles, kind of fears um of too much reliance. So it's kind of cool because they do begin to touch up on that, and then also they also talked about how these sort of AI tools, they're not meant to replace a teacher, not meant to replace the whole like teaching environment. Like this is used as a tool that's going to be used with a teacher, alongside a teacher. Like they're saying that for it to be its max effectiveness is you still need to have a teacher, but you're gonna go ahead and give them all these tools, and that'll make it like overall that's like the best according to what they were saying. Its most usefulness.
Yeah, so, I mean, you were also talking about it goes ahead and drops. There's at least some evidence that suggests that it negatively impacts cognitive thinking or critical thinking to a certain level.
Yes, and that was like kind of the other study that I was able to find by this Michael Gerlich. I guess he did it for the Center for Strategic Corporate Foresight and Sustainability, and then I guess he was finding correlation between AI tools associated with lower critical thinking skills, and also I guess there's a positive correlation for higher AI usage leads to greater cognitive offloading, which I guess cognitive offloading. To be honest, I had some trouble.
What is that
figuring
mean?
that out? Yeah, I'm like, what does that mean? So
I guess I just think of that as requires you to have to think less. I'm not sure how they measure that, right? Like once you start talking about brain activity, and it's like, okay, well, how do you measure that?
Yeah.
But I can so in sort of preparing for this, I also went ahead and heard some stories of students when ChatGPT first came out. I guess in 2022, I think it was around that time. They went ahead and said that their peers were using it, and one girl was having a hard time with a math problem and decided to, like, let's go ahead and do ChatGPT, and it went ahead and explained the entire process of the math problem to her. And she said, it's like, that's really convenient. I saved quite a bit of time. Thing is, it also went ahead and the interviewer went ahead and asked the girl, it's like, was there anything lost? And she's like, how would you have normally went ahead and solved that math problem in that situation? It's like, well, I would have probably asked a friend. I would have probably asked a friend for help. And now there's sort of that loss in opportunity to socially interact with someone, and also, like, have a plan to go ahead and, oh, I don't understand something. What do I go ahead and do? So I don't, like, I can, like, just from what I see, that makes sense to me. If that's what they meant by cognitive offloading, of the information is just there. And one of the things that you and I had talked a little bit was sort of like AI being tailored towards the individual, like at least it helping with that. And so I think that it creates ease of use for these kids, and hopefully, ideally, because they have that free space, and now they can go ahead and focus on other things, right? Like, that's kind of what the opportunity provides. It provides for them to go ahead and use that extra mental capacity to go ahead and do other critical thinking. Or you can just be lazy afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, there's, like, different routes for you to take.
Yeah, and I guess the thing that maybe we kind of hope for is, but maybe having this additional time, is maybe they find something that really, like, interests them, or they begin to get very curious about a certain topic, and maybe they have that now this extra time, and now they want to get, like, deeper and deeper into it, and that could lead to something, like, that could lead into something that just kind of, like, maybe that leads them to their future, like, I don't know what to say career, but maybe it's like, oh, this is what I want to do, like, as far as a career, right? If it's something that they really like or enjoy, or they just get curious about it, I guess, in general. I know for like, specifically, I guess, for, like, the AI tools, when I was kind of, like, looking through them, because I was reading too on the schools about certain school districts or states using different forms or different tools. Like, I want to know which exactly, like, or how exactly they worked. And I know we kind of talked about a little bit, like, off the podcast,
Off air,
yeah. But it's pretty interesting, like, how helpful, like, they can be. Like, one feature that I really liked that I saw was I don't know, honestly, I don't remember which company it was specifically, but they had this feature in which I related to big times, which is what I thought it was, like, really nice. Was, so you know how when you're in the classroom and, like, the teacher might be like, okay guys, don't you guys have any questions? I know me, I was a very shy kid growing up, and I was always afraid to raise my hand and say something, but internally, like, I'm like fighting. I'm like, I don't understand this. I need help, but at the same time, I don't want to ask something because maybe it comes at the cost. Obvious. It's at the cost of looking dumb or whatever it might be that you might internalize. So the thing that I really like about this too is students. There's a section in which it's kind of similar to, like, a little chat bot, but it can ask, like, hey, I had issues understanding today's lessons. They can ask questions, and this chat bot will actually help them out. But the great thing about that too is the teacher can see can see that specifically in that topic. They could be, oh, maybe Johnny has additional questions. He didn't feel comfortable, but now I know, like, he might need some additional help specifically in this.
And let me go ahead and check on him later on tomorrow in class during, like maybe not free hour, but, like, maybe if they're working on assignment during class. That was one of the. That I think it might have been Canamigo or Canmigo. That was one of the. I heard the same thing, that the teacher was doing the same thing. They also went ahead and showed an example of the girl using it, and she was looking to go ahead and she asked the chatbot, "What are some examples of an acid?" And it just listed it. The thing is, you can do stuff like that with Google, but it also goes ahead and allows for, like you said, the teacher to go ahead and see their students' histories, like their history of questions that they have. So that was good. Like, so there are advantages to using AI, but the plagiarizing is really, it's always been there, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like, yeah. I feel like it's always been a thing. I think it'll continue to be so. I guess maybe even more so the instances now because of AI. But who knows? At the same time, maybe at that same speed, we're creating these additional tools that can help detect it, right? So it's kind of like it's going to be going at the same pace. So
And also having the teachers be sort of adaptable to
yeah,
the technology and realize they need to restructure their class. In that, one of the things that I went ahead and also heard in preparation for this was a history teacher, going through and having to be very skeptical now of all the free discussions that he had for his students online. Whereas before he was always like very interested in what the students' perspectives were, having an outsider perspective and sort of doing their own research. But now he sort of has this filter in the back of his head, thinking like, was this written by an AI? Was this written by an AI? And so just creating a curriculum that's sort of, or creating something where it allows for the teacher to go ahead and actually test to verify like this is this student's thoughts and ideas, and they understand these concepts pretty well.
Yeah, and I think we might have potentially spoken this about also, but it's kind of like it's kind of like having a good sort of testing measurement in which like the student can't necessarily cheat, I guess,
Yeah.
or you avoid that,
Like,
like having an in-person test, and that's where they're gonna have to actually
I
like
would,
lay it all out. Because if they don't, it's gonna become pretty apparent, especially if they've had like take-home quizzes, homework, and they did great. They wrote this great piece. Sounds exactly like Shakespeare or very similar to. But when it comes down to writing an in-person or in-class essay, and it's a complete night and day difference, and it's like, well, what happened?
very suspicious.
It's very suspicious. Yeah. So, yeah, at least having the test being done in class or whatever it might look like, but being able to test it right then and there, I think it's going to be crucial.
Yeah, just I think that was one of the things that at least I got that in college more, where I felt the pressure to perform well during exams, because in school, at least the way that it was structured, it's like most of the class, like 90% of the class was based on exam scores. I guess I can't, like, it's been so long since I've been in middle school or high school. I don't remember it being that dependent. I felt like homework and like other things were also taken into fact. But maybe just restructuring that to be a bit more exam heavy.
And also, yeah, same thing. I don't know what current K through 12 education looks like curriculum
Different
wise,
for every state,
right? But just going from my experience, like I remember you ever using computers like in the classroom to do stuff. It was always like, bring your books, we're gonna read some passages, you can take notes if you want, that sort of stuff. It was never like you weren't doing it like on a laptop or anything like that for any of the homework or tests. I'm sure there's been some change now, but from what I remember, it's just kind of like it's up to you whether or not you're gonna actually learn.
And I think
prepare.
And that, like, I forget what the saying was, but there's like technology changes but humans stay the same, something like that, where it's like at the end of the day we're all still just human. There's going to be those humans who see this as an opportunity to cheat, and others ones who are looking to go ahead and leverage it to go ahead and learn the concepts better. It comes down to how you're going to use the tool at the end of the day.
Yeah, so for sure. Cool.
Yeah. All right, move on.
Yeah. You good for this topic? Yeah. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll end this bit. Okay, so before going straight into the next topic, we're gonna provide some background. So, what is this policy? So, this is a new AI public education policy within the Tucson Unified School District also referred to as TUSD. So the purpose. So the purpose is to incorporate into policy guidance on the responsible use of artificial intelligence technology in all aspects of the educational environment in TUSD. For the scope, this policy applies to all TUSD students, teachers, staff, administrators, and third parties who develop, interact with, or implement AI technologies within the district's educational, operational, and administrative systems. This policy covers generative AI models, intelligent tutoring systems, automation software, conversational agents, and analytics tools used for instructional, administrative, and operational purposes.
So Frank mentioned the purpose and scope, so I'll go over the regulations this policy is looking to add. This policy categorizes its regulations of how AI is supposed to be used into 4 categories. Category 1 being regulations for student use, Category 2 being regulations for instructional and administrative staff, 3 being regulations for district administrative purposes, and the 4th being regulations for evaluation and monitoring. For each of these categories, there's roughly 4 to 5 points in each. We aren't going to list all of them. I'm just highlighting some of the ones that were of interest to me. So an example of a regulation for student use is that open generative AI is prohibited for student use on district devices such as laptops and iPads. Open generative AI being chatbots like DeepSeek, Google Gemini, and ChatGPT. Moving on, one regulation that caught my eye for instructional and administrative staff is that AI can be used to support instructional practices, but can't replace teachers in delivering curriculum. They being teachers, are also responsible for reviewing all AI generated content before use in the classroom. Moving on again, an example of regulation added to AI use for district administrative purposes is it allows AI to be used provided it doesn't replace human oversight or decision making. And AI tools used in administration must be regularly audited for bias and inaccuracies.
And lastly, it will be under the final topic being evaluation and monitoring. So with that is the approval and purchasing of AI tools, ongoing monitoring and audits, and then we're going to go ahead and segue into our perspectives. Okay, so for this next subtopic, the subtopic being, should there be an age limit for using AI tools in public education? Excuse me. And also, I guess, as additional reference material for Tucson's policy. So the reason why they pushed back on voting on this or implementing an actual AI policy was because they brought it up in the meeting. So there was an identified speaker who mentioned who was kind of going for an age restriction, that being 13 and under won't be able to use it. So with that, we're gonna give our thoughts on the policy. So I guess so. What are my thoughts? I might sound a little indecisive because part of me, I'm a little conflicted overall as far as figuring out, I guess, an age limit. Part of me thinks that there should be. Same time, I am flexible, kind of in that regard. Um, so I guess at the same time, for certain ages, I don't think necessarily banning AI should be kind of the route to take. So it's kind of like, instead of banning AI, schools should teach students how to use it ethically. Teachers being also. So instead of hindrance there, I believe a culmination of teaching students how to use it ethically, but at the same time setting good educational standards or testing methods, I think would be ideal. So and that's going to be a combination of effort, from teachers, schools themselves, and school districts, and then I guess the question also is how to come up with a good class testing standard where you can avoid potential like cheating, plagiarism. I think this could be a good thing to kind of hopefully settle down if that not already exists. So regarding the actual policy itself, I don't really have any substantial issue with it. I did find a couple of key points. So for example, under the regulations for student use, point two, so the use of closed compliant AI systems, students may only use AI tools that comply with COPA regulations and have been approved by the district for educational purposes. So I guess in my mind is so what are those AI tools? Additionally, how does I guess how would the district determine whether an AI tool is educationally effective or developmentally appropriate? That's kind of some of the questions that kind of brought up to my mind. I don't necessarily have an answer, but it's something that's more of the curiosity my brain sparked. Additionally, under the regulations for instructional and administrative staff, so point one, teachers may only use district approved AI tools with students. So I guess my question with that is, so our teachers, so with that, I'm taking that they will be unable to use alternative AI tools that they may use on their own time. I feel like potentially maybe there's some value there, uh, and I'm not sure if necessarily removing it from teachers from using it. I don't know necessarily if removing that from teachers uh, is the right cut, but for policy, I can see it just setting some sort of standard. And then lastly, under evaluation and monitoring, so the TUSD software approval process or technology purchase process applies to the evaluation and selection of AI tools. For that one, I'm just kind of curious as far as the adoption of such tools. I guess cost wise, I'm kind of curious how much that would cost. I guess you could always look at other states, other school districts, and kind of see how much I guess the cost would be overall. Additionally, once a AI tool is approved, is there a follow up process to monitor its classroom use and effectiveness? Also, considering sometimes the pace of government, it takes time sometimes. So how is this approval process evolving to keep up with the rapid pace of AI development? Because last thing we want is, for example, we come up with a plan and it takes months, right? And we maybe think of building this sort of app, which could potentially be some sort of like proprietary app we do from scratch. Let's say if we go that route, and by the time that they get the funds and they're actually doing it, and it's months behind, perhaps it's already going to be outdated because there's another AI tool that's kind of already supplanted it, or it's an even better one. So I guess that's a potential question that for me, I guess that was brought up when reading up that specific, I guess, point. But with that, I don't have anything else. I'll go ahead and move it over to Ariel.
So, repeating the question that was asked, should there be an age limit for using AI tools in public education? And then, what are our overall thoughts on the policy? So, for me, I think I'm in a similar boat with Frank, where it shouldn't. I'm not strictly set on setting a certain age. I think I lean a bit more towards giving middle schoolers the ability to go ahead and use these AI tools. I think what they were focusing on was uh, elementary school students they mentioned, but they also went ahead and set the age restriction at 13, which includes middle schoolers. And I think at that point, they're old enough to go ahead and start using the internet monitored to go ahead and do their own research. I started using the internet when I was in elementary, so it would make sense for me, from my perspective, that they go ahead and start, or at least in middle school they should be allowed to, or at least that's the way I think about it. But at the same time, for elementary school students, I think the idea of talking to them about the concept of plagiarism, sort of giving them the harm, explaining to them the harmful effects that come from copying and not putting in your words into your own work and what that might lead to. I think that's completely understandable. We're telling elementary schools or elementary kids these topics, not necessarily, or at least I can get on board with restricting it for them, but definitely having that conversation about AI and sort of the effects that it might have. Um, in terms of the policy, the ones that I listed that were interesting to me. So I thought it was interesting that all the AI generated content that a teacher is supposed to use needs to be reviewed ahead of time by them. I think that makes absolute sense. You want them to go ahead and have the content at least reviewed from their perspective. Like, this is accurate information, because at the end of the day, AI is still, and it will always be in a developing phase, but making sure that the content is good. I wonder how responsible they'd be for this. It just says they are responsible for reviewing it. So I'm guessing they might get in trouble if they just go ahead and present and don't, and then they get caught giving bad information. So there was that. One of the things I was thinking of for prohibiting open generative AI on district devices, I'm thinking that that's a good idea. The only thing that I'm thinking of is, like, once they're in middle school and high school, there isn't really anything stopping them from using their phone, from just using their own personal hotspot, not even using the campus Wi-Fi. So there's ways around it, but it makes complete sense to go ahead and block off that access on district devices. I think all high schools have a firewall set up, so it's just one of those things to add to the firewall. I thought it was interesting for AI tools that are used in administration to be regularly audited for bias and inaccuracies. I think that's more, I would imagine, for history and maybe even writing to a certain extent. For for mathematics and chemistry, I guess it can lead to that, but it's a little bit more cut and dry. There's not as much. There's not really perspective that you can put on it. Just more on how you explain it. So I'll go ahead and take away that I think it's good that they're making policies and guidelines at this point. ChatGPT has been out for a couple of years now, so it makes sense to go ahead and have a policy set for what the professionals need, how they're supposed to act, and to go ahead and provide some guidelines on how the students and all these people are supposed to act with technology. And with that, I think I'll go ahead and end.
Okay, so we just finished up our secondary subtopic. We're gonna go ahead and obviously go into the conversation aspect. So I guess for me, when I was doing like all of this research, so particularly the one question I wanted to ask you was, so under that regulation, it's like point one. I'll just repeat it. So um, students may only use AI tools that comply with copyright regulation and have been approved by the district for educational purposes. So the question that I said earlier was, like, how does the district determine whether an AI tool is educationally effective or developmentally appropriate? So I guess what I'm asking is, like, for you, whenever they're going through the process of like selecting the AI tools, like, I guess, who do you think would should be the deciding factor as to whether or not like like a tool gets approved, it gets funded, and then placed out on the production environment?
Who do I think should be doing it, or who is doing it?
Like, no, who do you think? Like, because it seems by reading it, it's going to be up to the district or to the let me see here real quick. Uh, yeah, up to the the district, I believe.
Yeah, there's an approval process I saw. It doesn't, like, but you're saying like, and I think part of that approval process probably involves like, well, it involves the district.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess I would be curious as to who's the one who's currently approving software currently.
Mm-hmm.
I have to imagine it's a combination of IT and administrative staff,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know.
Yeah, because part of me that makes me think like, is it the superintendent? Is it gonna be, if it's not the superintendent, is it gonna be like the TUSD kind of like staff, like upper staff, or
Mm-hmm.
like who is it? I guess, and then I guess in my brain is thinking of like, okay, obviously they've been placed in these kind of esteemed positions for a reason, and with that
Yeah.
there's a certain level of confidence we're giving. So I guess that's kind of my question is like, is it better? Is it more appropriate to maybe like a superintendent to ultimately decide? Is it the TU? Is it the school district itself? Is it I don't know, even the city council? I don't know.
So like I'm looking it up. Like I'm doing a quick Google search. Let me see.
Gotcha.
Except please. Yeah. Like there's an approval process, but I'm not sure who's the one who's reviewing it.
And I guess deciding on it.
Yeah.
I guess I guess that's more of a question of like who do you think? I guess do you think would be the person, or yeah, or group, right, that ultimately approves like a certain AI tools, right?
Yeah.
And then the funding to go with it.
So I was about to go ahead and seem to quote something, but it's from December 17th, 2004.
Oh,
So I don't know how relevant.
no, I think it's pretty relative. I'm just kidding. So, yeah, yeah. I wonder what's the cost too. Like, did you find anything as far as cost wise for some of the other like districts or states or
On how to like implement these policies.
like the tool like for certain tools like
Uh-huh.
were you able to did you see any of that stuff out there?
No, like
Yeah.
I didn't think of the costs associated with that. That wasn't within the research. I was thinking more of the what we're thinking what consequences this will have on the learning environment.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of costs, I mean, there's probably a budget that's set in place to go ahead and add technology to schools. I know that smart boards were an investment at some point in our school. So I imagine that that's going to, like, I imagine that I have no idea for this, but it might be that budget that was used for smart boards might go ahead and be used for these new policies. I know that what was it? We were talking about a software earlier.
Oh,
CanMingo.
Mhm.
That's the one I was thinking of. CanMingo. For teachers, it's free to use. The thing is, for district use, it isn't free. Like there's like $1.50 charge per person or per student that's going to use it. So if you have 100 students, you're looking at what $150 per for that 100 students. So if I think that's like a monthly type payment plan. So it's going to add up if you're Tucson Unified. I know that it's over 1,600 students. So it would add up quite a bit if you were to go ahead and apply for all those, right? So yeah, it would definitely eat up into the budget.
Yeah, and like and nothing like I'm all for giving students the best tools, especially when it's gonna enable them to kind of like unleash potential innovation. I'm all for it. I was just kind of curious of the cost. Like I didn't see any of that, to be honest. I did see like as soon as I clicked, so I did see 4 students, 4 teachers, but every time I saw like request a quote or for on the enterprise level, so like for in a large sense. So I guess that's something more than likely has to be negotiated rather than like, hey, here's the X price. So, but if anything, I think if it's going to be used for public education, at least from what I've seen from other companies like Microsoft, I know they tend to reduce pricing. If it's going to be using for like higher ed or even for public education, they lower the cost. I think that's kind of like they'll rather take a hit, meaning they're not going to charge as much, like their bottom line, but they know they're doing it for the betterment of society.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe they're gonna, hopefully, right, they're taking a similar play there, as far as whenever it's in the public education standpoint. So
Yeah. I think also what you were talking about earlier was, uh, or at least one of the things that we were talking about earlier was sort of getting this tailored experience of
mm-hmm.
education. Um, I'm not sure if you saw anything about tutoring being very effective,
Yes.
and one-on-one tutoring being
Mm-hmm.
very effective. So the idea with AI is to sort of create a virtual tutor,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess the idea would be to like it's very expensive to go ahead and hire a private tutor for 1,600 students, but it might be feasible to have the computing power of one technology or one chatbot to go ahead and be what virtualized and allowed to be accessed by over 1,600 students. It might be just pennies on the dollar, as long as it's as effective. I can't imagine it's as effective as a private tutor might be, but if it is like, and we get it on at $1.50 per student per month, that would be amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd go ahead and, granted, there might be other things that come up, but at least the access to that one-on-one tutoring is there for the students to have.
Yeah, I think overall, overall, it is. I think overall, it is going to be effective. Obviously, it's going to have its potential negatives, but I think when you weigh it all together, pros and cons, I think there's a lot more pros, for just using AI tools in general, um, and I feel like, yeah, I guess just implementing it good too. I guess that's a good start. But also applying it in the sense of whenever you're testing it out in the classroom environment, because obviously, you don't want to necessarily have like tests done. Oh yeah, do it from home. Do it from home. I feel like that furthering like increases the possibility of cheating. Like,
Oh yeah.
so I guess setting some good classroom standards, I guess, would work good in conjunction with, just this policy that's being, potentially, approved through. I think
Yeah.
they're voting it on April 15th. So if you want to go to any one of these meetings, dude,
Yeah,
I think they're gonna have another one soon.
that's in 9 days
So
as a recording of this podcast.
yeah. So I'll make sure, I'll be there to support you, whenever you go up there in the stand. So
Yes,
yeah.
I'll definitely see you there too.
But with that, man, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing to add right there.
Okay,
That's it.
great. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our final, subtopic.
Okay, guys. So we're jumping into our last subtopic, which is being dogs versus cats, which is the superior pet. So last week, when we were sort of brainstorming what we wanted to talk about this week, we were running low on fumes, and we thought, you know what, why don't we just make it something fun? And I think we've gone, like, this isn't super diehard or anything like that. This is more just in fun. I'm a dog lover, but I'm an owner of a cat. So this is a lot in fun. So with that said, like, I'll just go ahead and start off. I'm representing the dog side. Frank is representing the cat side. So to start off, why are dogs amazing? Dogs are trainable. They are much easier to train in comparison to cats. They also have more potential to provide protection and do work. Service animals often can assist the blind and do tasks for those individuals. I thought it was funny how they described this next point. Dogs have the intelligence of toddlers, which I thought was a funny way to say it. They can understand up to 200 words and hand signals with the same meanings as words.
A lot of words.
A lot of words, 200 of them.
Wow.
The studies published in the journal Circulation, Cardiovascular Quality and Outcomes suggest that dog ownership is linked to a 21% reduction in the risk of death over the 12-year period for people with heart disease. So it reduces your possibility of dying because of heart-related causes.
Okay.
Right?
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah.
Those studies complement a body of literature linking dogs to good health. Dogs are also known for their loyalty, unlike cats, and affection towards their owners. They are pack animals, meaning they naturally form strong bonds with their human families. So yeah, what do you have to say to all that?
Unlike my co-host, I did not do any research. I did not look up any facts. I'm just going based off the pure love I have for my feline animals. So, for cats. So, I don't have anything as rebuttal for what you just said, but why are cats the superior pet? I mean, just think about it, man. They're easy to take care of. All you need is a litter box, and it's kind of crazy. It amazes me every time, but they immediately know, hey, this is where I need to go to use the bathroom. Sometimes they might miss, but I always find that amazing though that they're like, oh wait, they kind of smell, like, well, I think this is the place I need to go. Not the carpet, not this little corner. No, I think I need to do it here. So I always find that interesting. But for me is the independence. They're very independent, meaning they do their own things. Just walk around. I think I think even they spend more than half of their time asleep. So talk about like low maintenance, So that helps out, especially if you're working most of your time, you're outside of the house. So they have more independence. They can spend most of the time sleeping, or a good chance of it. So maybe you won't feel as bad by leaving them there. So big aspect of that. I think cats can be crazy. They can be energetic. They're all kinds of different personalities, which is nice. For me, for cats, I love when also they can be very comforting. They can be very comforting. There's nothing that beats the satisfaction of you're sitting down and then the cat just comes up and just sits in between your legs or on your lap. I don't know. There's nothing more satisfying. And then actually maybe there is. Maybe when they start kneading on, like, especially if you're on your belly, they start kneading, or on your back, you just start kneading it, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Am I getting a massage? I don't know, man. That is that's a big pro. I have never had a dog massage my back, so yeah, I like how they can be predictable at times. Yeah, I was raised with both animals growing up. I love both. I just like cats a little bit more. So hence my argument for my fellow cats. And now I guess we'll see if Ariel has anything up his sleeve.
I might have something. So you're done with the cat propaganda?
Sure, yeah.
Well, you were saying there's no better feeling than a cat jumping on your lap, right? Or them kneading.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are great, but I'll go ahead and say this as rebuttal. What I would say is even better feeling is after a long hard day at work, being exhausted and coming home and still having to go ahead and do some extra responsibilities around the house, or maybe putting in some extra work. The first thing you come home to is a dog hella excited to see its most favorite person in the universe. So excited. It's like, holy crap, you're back home. I'm so happy to see you. That is a pretty good feeling right there. It's like,
that's true. Yeah, seeing that constant wagging of tail and they're getting all super excited.
Yeah, like I miss having a dog. And then to go another thing, it's like,
hey, you can't.
And another thing,
is that ChatGPT? Did you just Google it? Oh, let the record state this guy just ChatGPT'd it. I'm just playing.
It's mine.
He already had it. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I forget what I was gonna say.
Oh,
but
I thought you had it down. Oh my bad.
But yeah, no, dogs always got your back. They're always excited to see you. They can be more needy, and like you said, cats are very independent. There was like just one study that I saw where it's like cats can distinguish between different humans, and they can they can identify their human. But some people were taking in the sign of like, oh, so they can hear me saying them, they can hear me calling them, but they just don't want to come. Yeah, they choose not to. It's like, okay, because that's also a part of their personality a lot of times.
Yeah,
and I think there's like a combination of cats out there where it's like there's a lot of them who are like they just stick to their own, and that's the type of cat you have. Mm-hmm. But then there's also the other cats where they can be very energetic and playful. Mm-hmm. It just really depends on the type of cat you get. Dogs though, there's so many different types of dogs. It all comes down to like they're gonna love you. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I think the cat's same. They'll always love you.
You might question.
Although you might get a couple of skippity, skippity paps, while trying to pet them. Mm-hmm. But hey, it just comes with that territory. It comes with that wildness.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, I feel like they always punch above their weight class. Whenever you see sometimes cats kind of like fighting dogs, it's like you have this cat.
That's always funny.
A cat's like a third of their size, and weight.
Even, dude. Like a tenth of their size.
Yeah.
Slapping the dog on the nose.
And they just run away like crazy. Or even you see those crazy videos of like there might be a bear or a mountain lion, and then it's just completely like unfazed. It's just that's what I meant punching above their weight class. Yeah. So there's that fear. There's that kind of like fierceness.
Their cat
that comes along with it.
There's also their cat-like reflexes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Seeing it in slow motion whenever they're jumping and like that's pretty cool to watch. Like,
and they have 9 lives. Like you can't beat that.
Yeah, bro. Now you're just feeding me. Points. So yeah,
you need them.
9 lives. 9 lives.
Yeah, but dogs love man's best friend, right?
Who created that?
A
dog.
Yeah,
a dog. I'm pretty sure. Also, he did say a dog is capable of 200 words. And what's the saying? What is it? A dog is a man's best friend. Is that what it is? That's what 6 words. A dog could have easily learned those words and phrase them together and push that propaganda forward. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure if cats are capable of 200 words. I'll tell you that much.
They at some point we did worship them.
Exactly. Hence why they're the superior pet. Where's the fellow dog statues out there? Maybe a couple.
We are. They treat us as one of their own. As a pack to them. Cats, they look down at us.
If you can find me something the equivalency of a sphinx, out there, you let me know. But yeah, overall, I think
we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one.
Yeah, I think it's a very decisive, controversial topic.
Yeah,
that's out in the world.
If anything's gonna get posted onto YouTube, it's gonna be this clip. It's like, oh, look at these dog haters or cat haters.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, very controversial take.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, I think that's all I have. Do you have anything else to add?
No, that's it for me.
Okay, great. So
make sure to follow us on all our episodes,
social media platforms too.
Yeah. We're on Spotify, YouTube right now.
Yeah, and feel free to comment. Also, let us know what you guys think. Yeah, all the shebang, and also especially in the comments. If you have any suggestions, if maybe there's something that we said that maybe needs further clarification, or shoot, if you just want to say hi, man, put it on there. We just want stuff, we just want all
interactions
kinds of comments
right now. Actually,
exactly,
we need interactions.
Yeah, big time. But yeah, with that, I think we're gonna go ahead and end the podcast. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll see y'all
next time.